look at those statistics as those who have been abused as well. So sometimes trauma is very evident during sex as well, and they may not be thinking about it, that it is from their trauma. They just blocking themselves from the situation. From my experience, I have worked with women who they are not in the here and now during sex. They're thinking about how their body look in the moment, or how their face is looking at that time.
Is my stomach in the way?
Right. So we're having all those internal questions during the act versus being in the moment and actually feeling and being in tune with our partner. So no, the male should not be responsible in those situations when we ourselves have not put any responsibility to our own. What was the third question? Our own sexual health, to know what's going on. I have seen a lot of people who just do positions or do any type of play because the male wanted to, versus them having any voice in how they like things.
Okay.
So,
doula.
I couldn't wait to talk about that. No, actually, from personal experience, like I said, I didn't start having sex until I was older than most people. But it was because I did have, I was molested when I was younger. I was almost raped.
Sorry to hear that, sweetheart. Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Well, it took a long time for me to be okay with myself. Like, I still cover up extra all the time. But for me, I just kind of think it's like people, going back to what I was saying about that, sex was a chore. So like I said, I didn't start having sex until I was a lot older, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to expect. We just started doing stuff, and then it happened, and then it was happening all the time. And I wasn't like, I don't want to do this, but I just didn't know what I was doing. So to be honest, like, I never had an orgasm until I was in my 30s. I was 18 when I lost my virginity. Didn't have an orgasm until I was in my 30s. Didn't even know what it felt like to come until I was in my 30s. And that took a lot of healing from other things. So like she said, it's a lot going on when you're when you have history and when you are trying to achieve certain things. And I think for me, like, I wrote down a couple of terms, sapiosexual and demisexual, because for me, it's like I have to have you have to be smart, like, you have to intrigue me. Like I said, I'm a life student.
Can you define those? What does those mean?
Well, sapiosexual is a person who finds intelligence sexually attractive or arousing. So like if I'm having a conversation with a man and he's just like throwing out all this knowledge and wisdom, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, let me think about something else, or unless I want to take it there with him. Demisexual is kind of like the same kind of person, but they are not they don't become sexually attracted. It's only after an emotional bond has been built with someone.
I think I'm demisexual then.
Yeah.
Only after the emotional bond.
Well, because the thing is, I've been in both situations where I kind of felt like, damn, he's turning me on. Like, okay, I hear you, bro. Like, let's keep this conversation going. Next thing you know, we having our fun time. But then it's not the same when you have created an emotional bond with someone, and their intelligence is just taking you to it's like a lot of foreplay isn't even necessary if you got that thing going on, So it's a mental thing, definitely.
Okay, Dorian, from a male's perspective.
From a male's perspective, is it the man's, fellas? Is it the man's responsibility to make sure these women get off?
Why you got to put it like that?
Hey, because check this out. Okay. For me, the answer would be it is 100% mental. Okay. If you're not tapped in to your own physicalities and you're not tapped into your own body, I don't care how long I stroke that thing. If you ain't focusing and closing your eyes and taking yourself to that happy place, you ain't going to bust no nuts nowhere. It don't matter what you do or how long I stroke. If I'm licking your clit, if I'm on your G spot or whatever, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You have to take your mind to that place. You got to close your eyes. You got to let your mind go, and you got to let yourself be free. And then you can come all day long. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women never get there because their mind, like the doctor said over here, is in the wrong place. Ladies, if you focus, you bust nuts all night. Let's keep it rolling.
So what? Okay, so what should they be focusing on?
Okay, you have to focus on what it is that makes you feel, so that brings those sensations to the edge that just drives you wild. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women, clitoral stimulation gets them off, So if a man is on your clit, and whether he's licking it or is he sucking it or whatever it is that drives you up the wall, you see what I'm saying? Look, you have. Yeah. You hold on. You said what we on? Are we R-rated?
No,
we X-rated?
I said we was gonna be a little restricted.
I mean, clitoris is. I mean, we're talking
It's how
about
you
sex
say it.
here.
Right.
Okay.
How
What?
you say it.
What? Okay. So if you lick on it, that woman got to take her mind and focus on the actions that's happening. So when she focus on it, she's able to hone in on those feelings and that sensations, and then the orgasm will come. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it is both people's responsibility. The man has to be helping the woman. You know what I'm saying? And then her mind has to be in the right place. If a woman's mind is in the right place, she can get herself off. She don't need a man. Mm-hmm. So it's 100% mental.
Did you want to add anything to that, Dr. Carroll? Well, I want to ask you this because we had this question on the phone. You just talked about what, from the physical standpoint, a lot of us don't even know, because I ain't gonna lie, as a woman, I'm like, well, hell, I don't even know if I'm really having an orgasm. Like, what does that mean? What does that feel like? You don't really even know. I don't know about men, they know, but from a woman's perspective, we often question ourselves, like, do we really even have an orgasm? What does that, so you talked about from the science perspective, the physical biology part, what is it? Can you explain?
I would say, I don't remember exactly the conversation, but just understanding what an orgasm is when you getting blood rush to the area, which causes arousal. So to know if you had an orgasm everyone is different, because again, like I said earlier, we can have a mental and a physical orgasm, which looks differently and the same at the same time. So for anyone who have not had an orgasm, you could just have bliss within the situation or within the act. Because I know a lot of people who have not had the physical orgasm but still enjoy sex, and it's been great for them from their understanding of what's going on. And I mean by their understanding, because if you never felt it, you know what your understanding of that sexual pleasure in that moment. Just like I do a lot of work with the BDSM community, and a lot of that, those role playing and things like that has nothing to do with intercourse or even the touch of the genitals, and yet they are able to have an orgasm just by feeling feathers on their skin or fire play or things like that. So so I guess it just depends on the person and how they look at intimacy, because a lot of us confuse intimacy and sex, and those two are two different things.
Okay.
So,
Nikki, you want to add anything?
Yeah, because I was having a conversation with someone, and I think I don't know if people realize this, but I think there's a difference between coming and having an orgasm. And if you
said there's a difference,
I think there's a difference.
Can you explain it to us, because I didn't know
so
that.
Like as a kid, have you ever had one of those batteries? You know, the batteries with the two little things at the top.
Yeah.
And you ever put your tongue on the battery and you're like, you feel that rush of something. You ain't never did.
It's like a small
That's
electrical circuit.
yes.
That you get.
Well, to me, that an orgasm is that. all over or in that space.
Total
That
euphoria.
yes, and it's just like, ooh, I want to do it again. That's what if you when you get home, get you one of them. I think it's a 9-volt battery.
She giving you some homework, cuz. She giving
Take
you
a
some
battery. It's not gonna hurt you. Just take the battery and just stick your tongue on the top of that little thing. And you'll feel a little something. That's an orgasm. But to come, it's just like some people call it squirting or whatever. I'm a oozer, so that's when you reach that point, and then you hear those extra wet noises or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's coming, and so there's a difference. But I don't know. Oh,
I mean,
like if you,
I've had women that can come 2, 3, 4, 5 times but don't orgasm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It takes them for them to really hone in.
Okay, so
on
let
that
me
feeling,
just
those
rewind because I want to make
sensations.
sure I understand this.
okay.
You're saying that you can have the orgasm, the coming part is there a technical? What's the technical term for coming?
Coming.
That's
I
it.
mean, that's the
I would
help.
say physical orgasm.
Okay, so the physical orgasm.
Okay.
So physical manifestation is where the woman releases her fluids.
Yes.
But you're saying you can release the fluids without
And I have an
having the
orgasm.
the body sensation of an orgasm.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so I didn't know that. I never knew that.
And
Did you
you-
know that too?
I did.
Oh, well, sorry.
Yeah,
'Cause
one-
I'm on a short
one-
butt.
The orgasm.
I actually did
It
because
goes.
I
It
feel
happens
like
with
it's,
males as well.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's degrees. I don't
Right.
feel like there has to be this
On
earth
certain
shattering,
levels, right.
crazy electric. Your whole body is convulsing to
Right.
have an orgasm. I don't believe that because I believe there are levels, and it really is. But I do believe your body does something different in an orgasm, and it does something different when you were just releasing that. And I think that it depends on how far you go into it. And I don't. In my mind, I don't feel like it's just a penis that makes that happen for you.
Right.
It's not the equipment that makes it happen for you. It's your mind and what you're thinking, and really, just how far you're willing to go with that level of thinking. That's my belief.
Let me ask you ladies a question. Have you ever been having sex and then you reached a point of euphoria where your whole body is shaking, your legs are shaking, you just
But
vibrating
that's
in
not the
your
only way
leg?
to have an orgasm, though.
No,
That's not it.
To me, I feel that's when you reach the peak of an orgasm. When you shaking and vibrate, I done had it where girls can't even walk.
Well, but
when
I
they
don't
get
think
done.
every woman is going to experience her peak that way. I don't believe that. I don't believe that my
When
peak
you
has to
vibrating
be.
and shaking and
Well,
just
but
rattling,
I think
you
it looks
can't move.
different. I
And-
really
and-
do.
and it's
I don't
true.
think every
And-
woman's going to shake and vibrate and can't walk just because she's reached her peak. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
There
Okay.
are levels because like I'll come and do all the vibrate like get
Yeah.
weak and can't move.
Right.
But that wasn't me having an orgasm. I'll have an orgasm with him with clitoral stimulation where he's doing whatever he needs to do, or even if I'm riding on top and I'm somehow managing to stimulate my clitoris, and be able to do that. So there are levels.
Ooh, there are levels.
T, you want to ask
Let's
any
go.
questions? I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah. So let's
I'm
talk
learning
about.
today.
Let's just talk about. Let's describe intimacy. So we've been talking about sex a lot and just the physical piece of it. Let's talk about intimacy because I think that is a part that can get you to that electric and you can't walk and all that stuff.
Right.
So let's talk about intimacy. What's the difference, or describe it at least?
I think intimacy goes back to what, because Cass,
Sassy.
Sassy C, was saying about us watching porn and just thinking that it's just stick it in and just do your thing and then get it over with. That has 100% no intimacy involved. Intimacy is about the connection. The definition of intimacy is closeness, togetherness, and attachment. Having that closeness, that togetherness, and that attachment to that person is what's intimate. How you feel about that person. Does that person light your fire? when you stand next to that person, does it just send electricity through your body? I've had a woman tell me before. She said, "Ooh, me just standing next to you, you just make my coochie tingle." That's intimacy to me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be. It don't have to be so much. No, I just think. Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, come on with. But yeah,
totally
that to me is intimacy, because when you're connected to a person like that, then that to me is what drives the sexual intercourse.